Well, hey, this is Josh Chris with TP Media, and I'm about to give my review of the movie X-Men Dark Phoenix. Now, I just saw it on Monday. We had a screening for it. It was a small crowd of people, so I took advantage of the seating, and I said, hey, I'm bringing all my kids with me. Now, we all had a real good time. Now, this was the first time they saw an X-Men movie, so they were confused on what was going on, but I said, hey, Marvel, this is something that Stan Lee made. You better show some respect. Now, this was the last installment of this franchise from the Fox, 20th Century Fox proper Marvel versions of these characters. So it felt like it was trying to go out with a bang on this one. Overall, I did like the movie. I think it was done very well. There were one or two things that made me just totally like roll my eyes on. I won't go into too much spoilers on this one or spoilers at all, because I really want people to go check this one out. But it felt like to me that Simon Kinberg was trying to go for something like things that have never ever been done before in any of the movies. It felt like you were in a situation where he studied everything that was done in all of the X-Men movies, from the original trilogies to Days of Future Past, all the way down to Apocalypse and First Class, where he looked at scene by scene and he was like, I can top that, I can top that, I can try to top that. Now, whether that was in his mind or not, it still felt like that was kind of what was happening. I was a lot of scenes that was going on in this movie where I felt like I was comparing it to something that happened in the original X-Men, X2, especially Last Stand, and all the way to First Class, Days of Future, and especially Apocalypse. Now, but this version of Dark Phoenix overall was superior than the Last Stand. Though I am still upset that in both movies the Dark Phoenix still wasn't given a chance to be the Phoenix, then become the Dark Phoenix. That's always bugged me. We always get in a situation, powers come out of nowhere, and then boom, it's immediately evil. Now, I feel like with a complicated character like this, starting off with Jean being in full control but not really in control of the vastness of the powers, made more sense. She's still her. She just needs to figure out what's going on, and a few bad things happen, but not that she's the villain. And then there's a slow turn towards the Dark Phoenix, like Game of Thrones style. But her, she could have been a Khaleesi, right? If it was already in the MCU, the Dark Phoenix power would probably be considered an Infinity Stone. It reminded me a little bit of Man of Steel, and if all the Kryptonians were like zombie, like World War Z villains. And the reason why I say that is because the final fight scene between the mutants and the and this race, this alien group was pretty darn epic. I have to admit that. Here are a couple of things that I really enjoyed about the movie overall. I enjoyed Cyclops. I think that Ty's really been doing a real good job as playing at that leader role, that Boy Scout coming into his own. I enjoyed what they did with the powers, and overall with Storm. She was really used very well. It felt like this was one of those situations where, after seeing the Avengers and whatnot, it reminded me that X-Men could have been something where if you could have just did character development with solo movies, Wolverine, Cyclops, Gambit, Rogue, all these characters, and then had your X-Men event film. And I think that even though it was not necessary, it was still done all right. Maybe that was what we're gonna have moving forward. In comparison to X2, Cody Smith McPhee, Nightcrawler, really stepped it up on this one. If you look what they did in X2, I might be able to top that. Now, I don't think they did, but it was damn close. Nightcrawler was just as scary as Wolverine in his Berserker Barrage moments. Now, Hank and Charles has always been there, but for them to have a straight out, spoiler alert, like falling out, it just didn't feel right to me. It was one of the things that kind of took me out of the whole story. After Apocalypse, we all love and look up to and idolize the X-Men. Now, putting this in the movie made a little sense, because if you go back to Logan, how everybody knew of the X-Men and followed them and whatnot, that kind of made sense, right? But seeing it was so, in the way it was done, one of the things I gave it like the lowest grade for effort on was how you saw little boys and girls out dressed like their favorite X-Men and idolizing these people and whatnot. It reminded me of, like, you're in a situation where the civil rights movement, where segregation and all that stuff is happening. But there's Muhammad Ali, and and there's another fella, there's Jackie Robinson or whoever, or if you're more or Michael Jackson or whoever, I some people are thinking I don't like them all, or I believe some of the prejudices or whatever I was told about them as a whole, but these are one of the good ones, That's what it kind of felt like, and maybe that's what they were going for, with being so closely tied with the government and everything, but it just felt like off-putting to me on that level. Maybe they weren't going for that, but that's, maybe a lot of people would take it in a different way, but that's kind of how I took it. So, and it just kind of threw me off a little bit. And just that the whole, the dynamic that Charles Xavier had a quasi X phone, like that reminded me of the Bat phone. Hello, Commissioner, that went directly to the president. I mean, maybe so, but did it have to be so gimmicky? That threw me off. And that was my only real criticisms of it. I think that the movie did well for what it was, or for what it could be. It was going to get punched in the face no matter what, because you had two things going against it. You had you had to get over what happened with Last Stand and do it better, which a lot of the effects and the fights was on the level of Blade 2. I mean, when if you watch the movie, you'll see what I'm talking about. And the second thing was the fact that it was always looming over me before going in. This is why, and then with hearing the reviews and seeing the low scores right off the bat, most critics don't like it. My expectations were so lowered, that it was all uphill from there. Just pure, I could just enjoy the movie, and I did. I had a really good time, and I'll tell you where I rank it after this. The problem going into it was the fact that it was always looming that Marvel now owns these characters. This is the last one from Fox, 20th Century Fox. Marvel has it now, and people are already geared up before watching the movie. Like, I can't wait to see what Marvel does with this X-Men and Daredevil and Fantastic Four and whatnot. So going into the movie, I already had that feeling. I already know this is it. They might as well have called this one The Last Stand. No matter how good the actors were, or the story was, or excited that I was, or how it made me feel, it was always in my mind. MCU has this now, and 9 times out of 10, they're probably going to do some excellent casting, some excellent writing, and we're going to see this big hurrah with the Avengers and things like that we've never had before. And now it's finally, maybe 5 years from now, but it's coming. And everybody's just like, okay, let's just get through this. And let's give it its bad review and just get out of here. And I'm like, no, this movie did not deserve that. This movie, if I was to rank it, now let me say, if I was to rank it, now, I love the original X-Men movie. X2 was far superior. But I'm still going to rank it like this. My favorite X-Men movie is still the first one, only because of how it made me feel. I was little. It proved that these movies were ready to now start be taken seriously, and it was Fox that brought that to us. If it wasn't for that success of that, we probably would not have the MCU the way we know it right now. From the very moment that movie began, the first word you heard was mutant. It just gave me the feels like no other. X2 was a better movie, but it's the nostalgia of it won't top part one to me, because of just how the first one made me feel. Then I ranked it. Where did I rank it? First, I said okay, X-Men 1, X-Men 2, Days of Future Past. Now Dark Phoenix is now my number 4 favorite, and number 5 would be First Class. Now, back in the day, it was a totally different ranking, but now that I know this is the last one, that's where I'm going to keep my ranking of it. I would say if there was any X-Men movie that was closest to a horror film, it would be this one. And that's the only one of the only things that really kept me like wow, okay, hey Kingsburg, okay. I kind of now wish you had this franchise a little earlier, because I see what you was going for here, and I appreciate that, bro. I mean, wow, I like that. Good on you. But this is the end. So that's how I felt about it, guys. I say go check it out, and if you don't, go check out Endgame, because we still got to get that to the number 1 spot. Now, if you guys have any questions, you want to send me comments and stuff, put it in the box below. Email me at go to t3medias.com/contact. You can always email mail at t3medias.com. Send me your questions, and we'll play it right here on We Got Your Mail. More reviews and everything coming throughout the week. Stay tuned for the live show coming up every Wednesday, guys. Donate if you want to donate. We have a Cash App for T3 Medias. And until next time, guys, peace.